Well, how lucky are we? 2 weeks in a row with the man, Leo Davis. We got tons of good feedback last week, and now it's the biggest week of the year. So I said, hey, let's run it back. Let's do it again. So good to see you, buddy. Thanks for doing this again.
Hey, good to see you too, brother. I appreciate this opportunity once again. I'm thankful to be here. And yeah, I'm glad last week wasn't good. I was a little nervous, I ain't gonna lie.
Well, certainly a great performance by the Cats. So what did you think? I mean, what were some of the keys in your mind, and what were some of the defining factors for Montana State to pull away for such a pivotal, top 10
I
win
mean,
on the verge of the brawl?
Bobcat Nation, we're so proud to have played for Montana State.
It wouldn't be where we are today without this program.
Now it's our turn to give back. Bobcat Collective is making a real difference for current and future athletes.
Montana State gave us a foundation to pursue our NFL dreams.
Join us in building something special because when we invest in our athletes, we invest in the future of Bobcat football. Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Join the collective today. Go Cats.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller and Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
It's time to let the good times cruise with Sun Cruiser Hard Iced Tea. Made with real iced tea and real vodka, it's refreshingly smooth and easy to drink. With no bubbles to fill you up, it's perfect for tailgating or ski season in Montana. Plus, each Sun Cruiser is only 100 calories and 4.5% alcohol, making it perfect for anywhere your adventures take you. When you need a little sun in your life, nothing hits quite like a Sun Cruiser. Crack one open today and let the good times cruise.
Sun Cruiser Beverage Co., Boston, Massachusetts. All nutritionals based on 12-ounce servings. Please drink responsibly.
And there's a lot to be learned in the game of life that you can learn from the game of football. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And they were able to capitalize and put it away the way it was supposed to. I know it was kind of hard to get the ball rolling, but I think a lot of X factors leaned into that. It's super late in the day. You have all day to think. And we know that 6 inches between the ears can really do wonders and tricks. So it just took a while to get rolling, but at the same time, UC Davis came out to play. I mean, they had a lot on the line. And when you're sitting in front in the driver's seat, you got a big target on your back. But at the same time, you got to remember the windshield is a lot bigger than the rear view. So you can't really look backwards too much. Just got to put the ball down and keep moving. Always taking that next step of progression.
I also think that as Montana State has just rolled through conference play. I mean, they're winning games like 47-12 is the average score in league play. They got, three of their four biggest victories ever over Big Sky teams, just this season. And then you've watched the Grizz. They've also, whooped up on some teams too. And I thought, man, are there only two good teams in the league? Because Idaho's sort of faded, and Sac State's been up and down. But then when I saw Davis, I said, okay, that's good. There's another good team in the league, right? I don't think Davis is quite on par with the Cats or the Grizz, but that quarterback's a problem, man, and he's a good player, and that Davis team's going to be tough in the playoffs. So a little bit credit where credit's due. I mean, I think the slow start was partially because Davis is they're a formidable outfit.
No, they really are. And they're going to be one of those teams that you're going to have to really keep your eye on for the next few years, especially if Penix stays. I mean, just speaking honestly, I could see somebody from a big Power Five school coming in and poaching that guy. I mean, that kid got a lot to work on, but just the raw greatness that he has, not just talent, but the greatness, and it showed. And I think once he realizes what he's capable of and, makes some adjustments and learns the game a little bit more, he's going to be phenomenal. And he's going to be one heck of a monster to stop. I'm not going to lie to you, man. Wow. That kid was phenomenal.
I've known Tim Plow for a long time. He was at the NAU for a long time, and then sort of climbed his way up through the ranks. And he's a straight shooter, and I've always loved talking to him. And when I talked to him last week, and he was throwing out comparisons for Pinnock for guys like Vernon Adams and Dakota Prukop, I was like, man, really? I was like, those guys are both so sweet, and like both those guys played pro football for a long time. And then I saw Pinnock and I was like, oh, he's not exaggerating. He is like those guys. He's actually probably even more athletic. Here's the thing, though. Here's why I think he stays, because they let him play baseball. And I
No,
don't
I
think,
was thinking that same thing. If you give him what he wants and give him an opportunity to compete with what he loves, there's no reason why. And when, Keaton shared that little tidbit with me, I'm like, yeah, I could definitely see him being an outfielder or a shortstop, especially in the pros, and that's one thing that he stays because he's able to play. Does that make sense?
oh, totally. Yeah, dude. And Tim Plow said, hey, we're going to let him keep playing baseball because Tim Plow did that. But he also said that he loves recruiting quarterbacks that are baseball players because he was talking about, everybody from John Elway to Patrick Mahomes to Russell Wilson. I mean, all those guys were sweet baseball players before they eventually chose quarterbacks. So I just thought that was an interesting fold because we don't think about that a lot, but I do think a great baseball player does make a great quarterback.
No, it really does. And, I always talk to my students here at school and anybody I've ever coached. You got to play multiple sports, man. There's no substitution for competition. There's no substitute for live reps, whether that's running track, playing basketball, wrestling on the mat. You got to do something else other than football when football's over with. And so I think kudos to Tim Plow for being able to highlight that because that's athlete to athlete. That's what you want to hear from somebody.
When it comes to then the stage that has been set, it's crazy. These two schools have played football for 135 years, and this is the 124th matchup between them. It goes back to the 1800s. This is the first time they've both been 7-0 at the same time ever. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. This is the first time they've both been undefeated in league play. So, what do you think of just the stage that's been set coming into Saturday in Missoula?
I think it's rightfully so. I mean, the Big Sky Conference being in Montana, the Big Sky State, it should run through both teams. And, I don't think there's, like Coach McIndoe used to tell us, you better get your pulse checked if you need any kind of extra motivation for this week. It's one of those things that, especially for the in-state guys, right? Montana is so beautiful. We don't have a pro team. For one day out of the entire year, 365 days, you have to pick a side. And neither side likes anybody that straddles and says, "Oh, I'm just for the Montana kids." No, you got to pick a side on one day, and that one day is Saturday. So you better choose wisely. And like I always joke around, you can upgrade from silver to gold any day, Colt. That's just what I think.
Well, super awesome. What do you think of just this match? I guess first of all, tell us some of your Cat Grizz memories. 'Cause you played in these over the years and you had some successes in them. So what comes to mind? Like, what do you reflect on when this week rolls around from back in the day when you were a player?
Well, it's one of those things being an in-state guy, and especially with my roots deeply rooted at Montana State. Coach Howick did a great job recruiting me in high school, and I had my choice. I've always kind of leaned more towards Montana State, mainly for the academics. I wanted to be an engineer, kind of like the rest of my brothers. They're a bunch of engineers, but not for me. What it comes down to is what Montana State at the time offered and what they continue to offer, which is an ability to be able to compete and compete at a high level and do some things that have not been done before. You just recently mentioned that both teams are 7-0. I mean, this is going to be one of the best Cat Grizz games ever to be played. And I know my counterpart, I got to play against him, Jordan Tripp. You watch those guys week in and week out, and it was kind of weird how this season mirrored the season when we played, where we were always one game behind each other. So even though we were preparing for like Weber State or Eastern Washington, we're still watching Grizz film and they're watching our film. So it's one of those things that the stage has been set. I mean, for a long time, this is one of the best rivalries in college football. And it's an opportunity to really kind of go out and win the state and represent what the 406 really means.
Well, I'm sure the 2011 game is probably not a great memory for you, but it is an
No.
interesting one because this game sort of reminds me of that one where I think both teams were so good. Like you guys were number one in the country at that time. And the Grizz, if it wasn't for North Dakota State, would probably be number one in the country. And these are definitely, I think, two of, if not the two best teams in the country that are playing in Missoula on Saturday. How much pressure, though, is there on the team when they're undefeated? Like, do you think there is pressure on Montana coming into this game since they do have a 0 in the loss column?
Anytime you're perfect, that target on your back gets super huge and everybody's waiting for you to fail. They're going to maximize mistakes. And going back to 2011, that one kind of strikes me in the core because I was battling back from a completely torn MCL. And I was never so angry with my head coach. I usually, yes, sir, total line. But when Coach Ash said we're going to save you for playoffs and not let me play my senior day, I was mad. And to watch the boys go out there like that and just kind of get rolled on, I felt, somewhat responsible in a way because I wasn't out there helping, I was on the side. And I got in, I think, for a couple jumbo packages, but at the same time, that one don't count for me. No, I'm just kidding. But no, there's a lot of pressure being number one. But also too, there's a lot of pressure and a lot to be said to the work that's gone in with 2, 3, and 4, because to be able to finish November, to be able to win October, to be able to put yourself in the driver's seat and control your own destiny, that says a lot for the programs. And you just got to just grit your teeth and you got to will it. Your will has to outmatch your skill and supersede it by some in order to get the win on Saturday.
Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Cash One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
Well, you want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.
The battle in the trench is always big in every football game, but especially in these games. And it's interesting because I think that Montana's two weaknesses are actually on the offensive and defensive lines. I think they're good, but I don't think they're nearly as good as Montana State or some of the other schools that have ruled the subdivision over the last 15 years. And I think Montana State's, I think their best position group is probably their defensive line. It's certainly their most veteran, the guys that are the leaders of the team. And the fact that I think, having multiple of those guys from Montana too, I think that this, just means so much to them. That said, the Grizz have been able to mitigate not having having a sort of an okay but not great offensive line all year, just by the way that they've been able to get the ball in the perimeter, get the ball in space, all that stuff. So break down that. What do you think of just the matchups on the line, especially when the Grizz have the ball and the Bobcat defensive line is trying to set the tone?
It's one of those things that always starts up front. And you got to be able to have that chip on your shoulder. But not only are the starting 4 on the defensive line battle contested, but they have depth and they can rotate guys in and out and stay fresh and be able to mix and match in different packages, especially in that third down cheetah package, which I think is going to give the Grizzlies some fits. Typically, when I played, the strength was on the Grizzly offensive line. I mean, they had guys like Levi Horn. They had a bunch of guys that were, 6'5", 6'6", over 3 bills that can move. And it's one of those things that you got to control the line of scrimmage. And it's going to be, that's why they call it the Brawl of the Wild. I think they should redo that, that Great Divide Trophy and put some O-line and D-line up there, because that's where the game ultimately comes down to and where it's won. And it's one of those hand-to-hand combat type situations. And I know guys like Paul Brott and Kenneth Iden, Montana grown dudes that really want to just put their nose down and go, and they're going to do that. I mean, Kenny Iden's coming off a 2-sack game, some TFLs. He's going to be hot, ready, and recharged. And so that's one thing, too, that usually coming into Cat Grizz, I remember when I played, we were trying to milk injuries. We were trying to not really milk them, but come back from them, get ready for a playoff game. And so having a healthy front for the Montana State Bobcats, oh my Lord, this is going to be, I can't wait. He's got to put the ball down and play. And the atmosphere in Washington Grizzly Stadium is the most hostile to play in the Big Sky. I favor our fans and our home crowd, but I know at least we treat opposing teams a little bit better. I know that for a fact. So it's we're a little bit more hospitable. They're a little bit more hostile, and that kind of gives you a little bit more chip on your shoulder like we were talking about last week, and that's why they're going to stay hungry.
Well, that's why I think that one of the keys of this game is Montana State is overall mentality and being ready to handle that hostile environment like you're talking about, because they've been overwhelmed by it the last 2 trips they've had to Missoula. And Brett Vegan's had great success in this game when it's been in Bozeman, but that's like the last box he has to check, right, is a win in Missoula. And I also think it's interesting that you have a quarterback in Justin Lamson who has never been through these wars before. And he was asked about it after the game on Saturday, and I thought he gave a great answer, but I just think you don't know until you know. So how much do you think that's just a pivotal part of this, is just Montana State settling in and not getting overwhelmed by the environment?
That's one of the things you got to be able to minimize the noise. I mean, like we talked about last week, you listen to it, you let it come 2 and 3, like my grandpa used to say. Take the power of the wind. You let it blow through you, it won't blow you down type situation. So you got to let the rain roll off your back so it don't bog you down, trip you up none. And you can't worry about the mud puddles because they're going to be there. So it's one of those things that the difference is being in that stadium, literally are on top of you. And you can't escape it, whether you score a touchdown in the end zone or whether you're on your sideline making adjustments. You got fans there. And I think they do a great job with their seating arrangement to be able to solidify that environment and try to control that to a degree. But at the same time, 11 men played a game, and there's a reason why. Those young men are on the field, and those guys are in the stands. There's a lot that separates the boys from the men, if you know what I mean.
What other matchups are you looking at in this game that could prove to be pivotal on Saturday?
I'm talking, we got a good taste of what's coming with IOT, with Pinnock. I mean, that was a great, live rep type situation to be able to prepare for a really mobile quarterback. But you look at them on the receiving core to be able to get out in space. But at the same time, our DBs, even though they're young, man, they really bring it every day. And our DBs, like I said last week, we can cycle them in and out. Doesn't matter if it's 0, 8, 9, 1, whoever you want, they're going to get it done. And I think Taden Gray is really going to be that leader in that room, along with Caden Dowler. And coming off 2 picks like that, plus a pick 6, it's a situation where being younger and maybe giving up some size in the perimeter, you got to treat it like a schoolyard bully. You got to jump on them first, keep swinging, and don't let them up.
I don't know if you listened to Paul Brott's press conference from Monday, but if you haven't, you should, because I asked him about the young DBs. And I mean, you got 5 kids. You know how it goes. Like your kids, they got so much energy, sometimes they wear you out. When I asked about the young DBs, it was like he was talking about his kids. He's like, these guys never stop, man. He's like, they wear me out. They're talking smack to me all the time. He's like, sometimes I'm just like, leave me alone, man. I'm old and tired. Stop bothering me. I just thought it was so funny, man. Because he's like, I love these guys, and they're just relentless. He said they never stop. They're yapping all the time, man. And I love it, man. I think that this is one of the most talented groups of corners Montana State has ever had. I know they don't have the accomplishments yet of the guys like, Darius Jones and Deontay Flowers and some of the great guys that have come through. But man, in terms of like pure talent, I think this is one of the best groups they've had. And that's going to be a key matchup for sure. Them versus the Grizz receivers on Saturday.
No question about it. And you mentioned 2 great young men that I had the ability to be able to play with and got to watch grow from start to finish for the most part. And Darius is a good friend of mine, and Deontay Flowers was that guy. And so he was just a ball hawk. I don't know if he had a magnet inside of his jersey for that ball, but he always came up with those crucial picks, and he could house them, man. So it's going to be reminiscent of that. And also, too, what we have in Caden Dowler and Taden Gray, it reminds me of Corey Austin, man. I got to give a big shout out to my big bro, 1-3, the legendary man. So it's going to be super critical to be able to watch them not only play fundamental football, but play within themselves. And that's going to be even more kind of like I tell my kids sometimes. And he brought up, keep yapping. I'm a Washington fan. One of my boys is a Dolphins fan, so I had to hear it all Sunday about it, and overtime, and we lost. So I totally get it. And there's times where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the store, and when I get back, your room better be picked up. I ain't stepping on no more Legos, and you just need to just do your job, please.
I love
it. That's what it's like. And, Paul Brott, that guy, he makes me laugh. He's got some great euphemisms for sure.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Yo, Tara, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 of them.
That's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yeah.
Nuanez Now and the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series, bringing you the best in University of Montana and Big Sky Conference coverage. Thanks so much to our loyal sponsors, the Montana Party Bus, the Press Box, and Orange Media.
Yo, this guy. Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more championships. There y'all go, man.
For sure. Well, last thing I'll ask you, not matchup aside, I think one of the coolest stories going right now in the state of Montana is the Dowler twins, because those guys, obviously they've always been brothers, they've been bonded, they've been close, all that stuff. But now you have Caden emerging sort of from Taco's shadow. Taco's been the star. I mean, I would argue he's the most famous player in the state of Montana right now, just because he's from Montana. The Grizz have a couple of guys, but their headliners aren't from Montana. So the fact that Taco's a Billings guy and a Gatorade Player of the Year, and he's been this star for the last couple of years. Meanwhile, Caden's been nursing these terrible injuries that he, has just derailed him the last couple of years. But look at him now, man. I would argue he's the Defensive Player of the Year in the conference. And it's so cool to watch those guys. Like last week when they announced on the PA that Caden was the player of the game, Taco's out there in the middle of the field dancing. He's waving on the crowd. It's this classic, man. And you got to just be so happy for Caden Dowler, because what a story, man. And he's done such a great job being a leader and all that stuff. But it's been pretty cool to watch, pretty fun to watch those guys emerge, and Caden sort of emerge from his brother's shadow.
That's kind of special, and it hits home to me because I love my brothers, and I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for my brothers. I'm the oldest, but Steven and Matt, they're the ones that really kind of pushed me in the driveway and in the backyard when we toss the ball around or get some shots up. And you really don't know what you have if you don't have it. And for them to be able to feed off one another, especially being offense and defensive side of the ball, it's super special. And I think Caden is a true testament of never giving up. You never stop. And coming back from those kind of injuries, I've seen players say, hey, you know what, man, maybe this game ain't for me, and they hang them up. But to be able to just stick with it and put the time in, not only battling back from injury, but the weight room and making sure your grades are good so you can stay eligible, because it's easy to get caught in that mental game. I know I've had multiple surgeries, and I know what it's like to have season-ending surgeries. So for him to battle back, and I don't think there's too much of a shadow from Taco because, that's the offensive side of the ball. And he's well known. I mean, we got kids in the stands wearing Taco outfits, and I know exactly why they're wearing Taco outfits. It's not Halloween no more; it's for Taco Dowler. And so it's beautiful to see those two guys really emerge together, right? And like I was telling you earlier before we got on the call, iron sharpens iron, and just as one man sharpens another, so there's no better way to do it except in your own household. And it's testament to their family, their mom and dad. And also got to give credit to where credit is due, that they came out of a great program at Billings West. And so that's so much that goes into it. It's like an onion, you peel back the layers, and it comes down to where they're from and who they are as human beings. And I'm so happy to be able to watch them on this ride, because they're going to be two names that people are going to talk about for a very long time, especially when it comes down to brothers.
Well, it's so awesome. Such a great story. The latest in a lineage of brothers that have played both for Montana State and Montana, and that's what adds so much richness to this rivalry and to this game. Any last thoughts before we get you out of here on what might go down on Saturday?
It's going to be a heck of a show. I wouldn't blink and I wouldn't miss it. And, I think it's a shame that game day didn't show up. But, there's no better place to do it than in Bozeman. I got to ride heavy for my crew. This is one of the games that there's so much on the line. And so you just got to toe that line, put your chin down and go. And it's going to be not only just a brawl like the Brawl of the Wild should be, but there's so much lingering in the air, and there's no low-hanging fruit. The sky's the limit.
Leo Davis, Big Sky Breakdown. Good to see you, man, and we'll see you in Missoula on Saturday, but travel safe.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.